Okay, hands up from those who completely, intimately, and with full knowledge of every facet of the issue understand the laws of political campaign finance, how they're supposed to work when it comes to influencing those wonderful and undoubtedly honest politicians who would never, ever think about being swayed by millions of bucks in their pocket over your $10 donation. Go ahead and put your hands down, because what I just asked was impossible for anybody to understand, including those who may or may not be cheating their way to a new multi-level home in the Virginia suburbs and paying for the new digs in Monaco. Virginia is most interesting to bring into the discussion. We are once again watching as the FBI and the Justice Department is looking at yet another Virginia lawmaker over his alleged dirty dealings with regard to donations that may or may not have violated federal law. The Democratic governor, Terry McAuliffe, is already in full spin, noting it's all just a misunderstanding, fairly close to exactly what then Republican Virginia Governor Bob McConnell said in 2014 when he and his wife were indicted on federal corruption charges, and he's still fighting his conviction and trying to stay out of the Gray Bar Hotel. Let us not then delve into what's in the political water of Virginia for fear of making other elected officials shake with their own fear. Let's get some background on all this from John Bachman. John?
Yes, Ed, only in Virginia politics could you give me a Rolex with no quid pro quo attached. Well, the FBI and the Clintons are in the same sentence once again, but this time it's Virginia's Democratic Governor Terry McAuliffe as a common denominator. McAuliffe is now under an FBI probe for questionable campaign contributions made to him back in 2013.
This gentleman was certainly entitled to give money to the campaign.
Longtime Clinton ally and current Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe saying Tuesday he's done nothing wrong. But he, too, is now under FBI investigation. In 2013, McAuliffe accepted $120,000 in donations from Chinese billionaire Wang Wenlong. Investigators trying to determine now if Mr. Wang's donations to the governor's campaign were in fact legal.
And clearly had the right. He owns a big company in the United States of America.
McAuliffe insists Wang had his green card for years, and his lawyers checked into every donor.
He was vetted by the campaign.
To keep them from buying political influence, the Supreme Court has ruled that foreigners are banned from contributing to U.S. political campaigns.
It is very bad for the Democrats, very bad for the Clintons because he's so close to them.
McAuliffe has a long history of helping Bill and Hillary Clinton raise millions of dollars for various efforts. He has also served as the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, but today the governor doubted his investigation would have any impact on his friend and ally, who is also dealing with her own FBI investigation.
I don't think it will affect Hillary Clinton at all. It won't affect me at all. If you haven't done anything wrong, what you should be worried about.
Now, Ed, as you mentioned, Terry McAuliffe is the second consecutive Virginia governor to be investigated by the Justice Department. Bob McDonnell was convicted of corruption charges related to loans and gifts he received from donors. Mr. Wang also has ties to McDonald's. His company reportedly exported soybeans to Virginia. Ed, back to you.
It's all about just living in the suburbs of the Beltway. Thanks a lot, John. All of which leads us to the simple matter, or so we hope, of money, where it's going. Campaign finance laws, contributions, forget that. Let's get down to the meat of it. Why this seemingly simple issue hasn't been brought under control and find out exactly what they're going to discover with regard to Governor McAuliffe. Let's take the tongue out of the cheek. Let's go ahead and move on. If you're willing to opine on the Hardline live line, mere minutes, get on board right now. 1-877-Newsmax. 1-877-639-7629. Have a take, have a point, stay on point. See if you can stand the heat on this issue. Hammer down. Welcome to the Hardline. Former Illinois Republican Congressman, now the president of Flanagan Consulting in Washington, D.C., Michael Patrick Flanagan. Good to see you again, Mike. And here we go. I just have to ask off the top of my head, what is it about Virginia?
I'm from Illinois. What is it about Illinois and Virginia? We put a few governors into Hoosgow as well. It's dangerous business. I think McAuliffe is in deep weeds here, I think. His association with the Clintons, his association not just with the Clintons over time and being their friend, but his direct association with them as being the head of the DNC and furthermore being a fundraiser for the Clinton Foundation. And this guy gave money to all concerned at McAuliffe's behest. I don't know whether it's legal or it's illegal, but it sure stinks.
What about?
And this is going to be.
No, I was going to say, what about then that connection? You talked about the Clintons, and the Clintons are involved in this because this comes right back to Hillary Clinton. This comes back to the Clinton Foundation. Now, CNN noted there is no allegation of impropriety on the foundation's part, and that McAuliffe formally served on its board. Wait a minute, there's always the smoking gun people are looking for here right now. There is a connection. It is worthwhile looking into, yes?
Well, this is only one example. They're looking at McAuliffe's interrelation with Clinton money across the board. This is just one example of it that they're discussing out loud right now. The Wang gave a ton of money to the Clinton Foundation and a ton of money to McAuliffe, I don't know how much business he does in Virginia, but to justify a 7-figure donation to a governor who is only going to be one term has to be a substantial business, you would think, if he expects to be able to peddle some influence or something. And my guess is that this went beyond merely a business investment, if you want to call it that, and went on to actually hoping to apply a little influence at the Clinton Foundation, with whom Mr. McAuliffe has enormously close ties.
You are indeed inside the Beltway, and with everything that's going on in politics right now, we can't let you get away without discussing a couple of the things that are going on here today. Hillary Clinton, let's bring her into all this. She has questioned Donald Trump's ability to run a business, much less increase the economy. I think it's interesting as to how she exactly put it. Here she is.
Trump economics is a recipe for lower wages, fewer jobs, more debt. He could bankrupt America like he's bankrupted his companies. I mean, ask yourself, how can anybody lose money running a casino, really?
I think it's actually a pretty good point, but let me ask you then, with regard just to this line of thinking, the way that Mrs. Clinton is going after Donald Trump in this specific area, do you think it has any real legs, or is this just one of those one-off shots that will disappear as we head further towards November?
I think it has no legs, but it's very interesting. In Chicago, the outfit and Democratic politics are very well joined around the subject of Vegas casinos. So it's interesting that she would bring that up. She's never met a payroll in her life. She's never been an employer. She's never had to provide for employees. She has never done anything other than suck from the public till. And her knowledge of how a business works, or meeting a payroll, or whether one's successful or not, is rooted in under her tutelage in the time that she's been in office. What's the federal debt now that she's been responsible for making it? And what is the growth of government that she's responsible for making? And what is our ability to repay this back? Zero. So Mrs. Clinton, really, she who lives in glass houses should not throw wads of money.
Well, we always know that as we do get closer to November, people are going to go back. They're going to look at what people said in the past. They're going to use it as attack points. So now Hillary Clinton was in Commerce, California. She was going after Donald Trump, and she talked about an instance where he said years ago he was hoping for the crash of the 2008 housing market and using that as an attack point. Here we go.
He actually said he was hoping for the crash that caused hardworking families in California and across America to lose their homes, all because he thought he could take advantage of it to make some money for himself.
A question here, Michael, when does this become white noise? Because here we are sitting in May. All the attacks are out at this point. We're going to talk about another one here in just a moment that Donald Trump has launched against the Clintons. But when do people just start not even hearing it? They basically stick their fingers in their ears and go, it's all just the same stuff we've heard over and over again.
This is an interesting point you ask, and it really is a great question. Hillary is a career politician. Trump is a career businessman. They both have a different set of ethics. They both have a different set of rules they apply to. When a politician changes his or her mind over time, they almost have to have a press conference and have a weepy moment of conversion where they don't think exactly as they thought 10, 20, 30 years ago. Politicians are expected to remain exactly and completely the same their entire careers. Businessmen, however, change constantly. They have to be ready and nimble to be what they have to be today to put a dime on the dividend and be successful CEOs. My thinking on this is that to hold them to the same view is probably wrong in both cases, and we probably should go ahead and take each of them at face value. I think as to your question of white noise, I think we're there already. I don't think anyone is holding Trump to a standard of being a politician, and I don't think anyone thinks of the Clintons as being a businessman, and both of them are viewed with a different set of capacities to become our president. And I think Trump will beat her handily when that's all said and done.
I got less than 60 seconds left. I need to ask your opinion on this, too, because I mentioned Donald Trump. He is back talking about some very sordid, unfounded, disproven allegations against Bill Clinton that he is now bringing into some of the television ads. We're hearing the name Vince Foster again. Is this really necessary?
Well, Rush Limbaugh observed that he's doing the job that the press never did. And I don't know if that's exactly true either, but there's a whole lot of people on the right who feel that a lot of the stuff about the Clintons was never adequately vetted in the press and elsewhere, and here a candidate is now doing it. If these things were really put to bed, he wouldn't be doing it. So there's still some question in some of these subjects. Vince Foster, you know, that's pretty sticky stuff. The Rose Law Firm, that's gone on and on. Ken Starr is out now saying the Clintons are great. I think it all is going to be early election noise, and a lot of this Clinton 90 stuff is going to fade by mid-late summer, and we'll be on to more substantive things.
And hopefully we have to cut through the noise eventually and get to the more substantive items, because that is indeed what happens when you elect a president of the United States. Michael Patrick Flanagan, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. The messy left-handed convention, the back of the hand being dealt from those who will seek to make you hate the other even more viciously than you do now come November. And the hand that will not be raised in anger, only in truth, when it comes to the candidate who always seems to misplace a moral backbone. That and so much more coming up next, right here on The Political Animal on the Hardline.